So hello, today I'm at the chapel of St Peter's on the Wall at Bradwell-on-Sea in Essex, and I'd like to talk to you about the history of the chapel itself and St Cedd. So it stands 2 miles east-north-east from Bradwell-on-Sea in the parish church, which is basically in that direction. These walls here are entirely made of reused Roman material, including ashlar, septaria and brick, Roman brick. The chapel was built under the instruction of St Cedd of 654 AD. He was also known as the Bishop, or Bishop Cedd as he was known. The chapel itself stands astride the former west wall of Othona Fort, which dates to the 230s AD. And the Roman commander Marcus Aurelius Crassus, Italian there, who declared himself Emperor of Britain in 286 AD. Now he manned this very location along with either side of 500 Roman legionaries, auxiliaries and a Roman fleet of ships moored right in front of us. In the distance there would have been the fleet. Now the nave itself, which is virtually everything that is in front of us, is 49.5 feet by 21.5 feet. The walls are 2.5 feet thick and they rise to 24 feet under the eaves. We should start on the east wall. So this is the east wall, and if you look, you've got Roman brick springers and responds of 2 arches. Hello mate. So if we look here, we can see the remains of one of the arches, and if we look on the north side, we can actually see that huge block and what's left of the arch. So the experts say normally there would be 3 arches, so they're not exactly sure what was here before. Hello. You alright?
Come on you.
Oh mate, don't fall down that hole. Right, so if we look at the south wall, this large opening here in the middle would have been opened up and used for the barn. It's a bit awkward trying to do this paperwork. Yeah. Now if you look at the east, if you look at the east end, we're on the east side now, this is believed to be the remains of the original doorway opening onto what they call a porticus. Now if you look at the floor, these are the original foundations of the porticus, and it's been cemented here to give you an idea of the outline. Now when I looked up porticus, it's a small room, an extension to the, oh hold on, yeah, it would have been a small room and an extension south side of this church. It was basically a chapel, and this design originated in the late Roman period and in England until the 8th century under the Saxon rules. So it's most likely there would have been a structure here, and you can see these large lintels have been taken from the Roman fort. Now these two sections here that come out are believed to be buttresses. Second one there. Now the Roman wall itself is believed to have been around where I'm standing now. So it would have gone something like this, and something like this. So basically in that direction and through the woods today. Now what I also notice, these stone lintels, I believe they're from the fort because, and they were part of the door frame. I believe that this is one of the recesses for the locks or the bolts. And I found, and you can see just how vast that is, and if you look up there, there's a further one. Just as churches today have a sliding lock. I think they're from the original door frames. Now we're on the west wall. They say this is the original doorway, but of some, I'm not sure what period. Most likely Saxon, when St Cedd had this built. It's got a modern lintel above it. So obviously in the Roman times, this would have been completely different. At the top there, it's the original Cedd window, shall we say, reused Roman brick and jambs. They think there was a porch here, because if you can look here, masonry's been removed, and the same on this side here. So there's most definitely been a porch here. So if I stand here, this would be where the porch would be. Now above the porch, above the stone porch, there would have been a tower, and in the Middle Ages it would have been used as a chancel, a chapel of ease to Bradwell. When I looked up chapel of ease, it's a church building other than the parish church, but within the parish boundary, and in this case it'd be Bradwell-on-Sea. So that would be St Thomas's Church. It's just over 2 miles away. So at some point the tower fell down. I did also read that the tower itself was used as a beacon, a warning beacon. Now we go on to the north wall, and again, if you look at this major stone lintel, you can see a hole in it. So that's obviously man-made, been used as some sort of sliding door lock. That's a major stone. You can see they run all the way up there. And I think there's another one up there. Yeah. So these would all probably be part of the towers, most definitely the towers of the original Othona wall. So here again, possibly two buttresses that are coming out, and just stand back a bit. This also was a barn opening. You can see it there. You can see in the Georgian period they've put bricks in just to buttress to make it all back together. Now that was a common feature in Roman construction. They would use these stones, they would have a layer of stones, and then they would have a layer of Roman brick, and that would bind it all together. Now this here this is designed as a stump Roman brick that would have been used for the original doorway to this porticus here. So again, we've got another series of masonry that's missing, so you can see it better from there. So it looks like there was some sort of building or doorway there, and again on the floor another porticus. So it looks like we've got a north and a south porticus, and the doorway would be somehow here. I'm not sure if it came through the wall here or if this was a porch, I'm not sure. And again, something man-made there. Now the chancel, this is actually the outline of it, and it's an apse, and from the most easterly point here to the wall be 17 feet, and if you can imagine, it would be high, it'd be 21 feet high. The apse was most likely built in the early Norman period and was at some point destroyed and removed down to the foundation level, and it was discovered in the excavations. Now I also notice badgers have been through here. You can see quite clearly this is Roman brick. It's almost 2 inches thick, just laying on the floor. You can see also there. Stuff everywhere you look. If you dug down anywhere here, you'd find stuff. So we'll go inside and have a look. So we just walked through the Roman wall, if it would have been there. Now then, oh, there was one other thing I wanted to show you. That stone jam up there, they've cut a lump out. You can see a hole in it on the left hand side. Something there, I don't know what that is. It's fascinating to think that this was all put together so long ago. Actually, there's a small sign over here. So it looks like they built a building here for people on pilgrimage or hikers. You do get a lot of hikers doing the St Peter's walk. Right, Right, so we have a look inside. So it is open most days, which is really nice. If the door handle's a bit stiff, just give it a good turn. Take the old hat off. If I leave the door open, we can maybe see get some light in there. So basically it's just a big nave. I guess the raised end up there is classed as a chancel. And on the wall here, they give you an idea what the building looked like. So you can see the porticus there, south and north, and there would be the asp. And the wall with one of the towers there. Looks like some sort of ruin there from the original wall. And there's the buttresses. And the actual size of it. So this is the seaside. So we're now standing about here. This explains about St Cedd. This is the altar table that 1985 was installed. I'm just going to take off my rucksack. We'll have a closer look. So you can see where the farmers have knocked out the wall there for their animals. And again on this wall. See the Georgian bricks there. So this is all 7th century. And here we have the modern altar, 1985. Now then, so people can put private prayers in here, I guess. This small alcove, light a candle perhaps. Now up there, you can see the inside of the Roman arch, with that heavy stone at the base. I believe this is still an active church. It comes under the diocese of, with a group of churches including Bradwell-on-Sea, Tillingham, and I think there's another couple, St James's, I think. But they do have their own priest here. So you can see the arch there, remains of it. Again, you can see where the wall's been spliced in with time of St Cedd. Now I have written some information on St Cedd. which I can read to you. Put this on this holy table. Hope I'm not breaking any rules by doing this. So St Cedd, accordingly to St Bede, who was a monk of Northumberland in the 8th century and wrote scientific, historical and philological works of the Saxon age. Now Bede stated that a city called Yvanchester existed here, where the chapel of St Peter on the wall has stood today. So around this area there's a city. Now, as I said before, it was Cedd who had the chapel built around 654 AD, or at least onwards. So who was Cedd? Well, he was born in Northumbria, and he was brought up in a tiny island that's called Lindisfarne. Cedd had 3 brothers, Chad, Cynibil, and Caelin. And all 4 would become priests, but Cedd and Chad would become bishops. Now, Bede mentions that Cedd in 653 as a priest, and at this time he was sent to evangelize the Middle Angles, who were heavily pagan in their beliefs. And if we go back to 604, we have a man called Mellitus, and he was the first bishop of London, and he attempted to convert the pagan kings of Essex. And after 10 years, he was driven out across the English Channel to France. And it was now that Cedd, the priest's turn. But this time the Saxon king Sigbert requested that Cedd would convert his people to become Christian. The king travelled to Lindisfarne himself and was baptised by the Irish bishop Finan. Now Cedd was then sent to convert the population. And some limited success, he returned to the bishop Finan, and there Cedd became bishop himself, and soon after, Bishop Cedd was once again sent south, down here, but this time to have built places to worship for the new Christians, and having located this long abandoned Roman fort we stand in today, Christianity would finally get a solid structure and a foundation here. St Cedd would go on to establish a monastery at Tilbury, near London. And it's also believed that he set up a preaching cross and blessing a well at Great Bursted, which is where I come from. And he even sat under a pear tree whilst preaching in Butsbury, which is a church that I look after. These churches are both in Essex, not too far from here, about 45 minutes. Now, not long after this fine chapel was built and the pilgrims would arrive here. Cedd himself had returned to Northumberland to a monastery called Lastingham, and there he was appointed as Abbot Cedd. And Cedd underwent a 40-day fast to purify the monastery. And there the old Cedd, he finished his days. He sadly contracted the dreaded plague and passed away on the 26th of October, 664. Even more tragic on this saga was that 30 monks travelled from Essex. Could they have come from Great Bursted? Don't know. Or they most likely come from Tilbury, I guess. They wanted to be with Cedd, and they all perished apart from a young lad who lived to tell the tale. The Chad, who was Cedd's brother, he went on to become the new abbot of Lastingham. And St Cedd is remembered by the Church of England with St Cedd's Day, or Essex St Cedd's Day, or Essex Day, on the 26th of October each year. Personally, I could not count how many church windows I've looked at, and it seems a fair proportion are of St Cedd. Now we pass through the mists of time to 1442. The Bishop of London reported that he could not say who built or even how old St Peter's Chapel was. In 1442, it was used as a chapel of ease to Bradwell, and many centuries later, it would host a different flock, indeed animals. For many decades or maybe centuries, this was a barn. It was not until 1920 that this tiny and all but forgotten chapel was once again consecrated. When I worked it out on the calculator, so I definitely need that, I calculated it had been 1,266 years. And I hope you enjoyed that. Thank you very much.